The following is an exclusive TCS sports presentation. 1 week ago today, Penn State opened up their season at Maryland. On the second play from scrimmage, senior captain Michael Zordich intercepted a Stan Gelbaugh pass and returned it 32 yards for a touchdown. Penn State led 7-0. A stunned sellout crowd at Beaver Stadium watched as Penn State built that lead to 17-0. But Maryland came back, trailing by 2 at 20-18. 40 seconds to play in the game. Tailback Alvin Blunt with a swing pass. Lance Hamilton forced him to fumble. Trey Bauer recovers, and Penn State hangs on to win 20-18. One week ago, Temple opened up their season at Boston College. After opening with a lead, Boston College came back. Sean Halloran hitting Darren Flutie for the touchdown. The Owls fought back but lost to BC 28-25. 2 years ago, Penn State, looking for their first win of the '83 season, built up a big lead. But they had to hang on for dear life as Temple made the rally and almost came back to beat the Nittany Lions in Philadelphia. Visiting the Penn State Nittany Lions. From Beaver Stadium in University Park, Pennsylvania, it's the Temple Owls versus the Penn State Nittany Lions. Hello again, everybody. I'm Stan Savran. Welcome to Eastern College Football. Let me introduce my working partners today. You'll recognize this fellow, George Paterno, my normal working partner, and working with us today, Harry Donahue. Harry, Bruce Arians in his third year at Temple. The rebuilding process is underway. He's doing a great job. Would beating Penn State get them to the ultimate plateau in Eastern football?
Well, Bruce is taking it one step at a time. Last year, he turned it around with a winning record, 6-5. First time the Owls had a winning record since 1979. This year, he wants more respectability. Beating Penn State is mandatory if he's to get it.
Now, last year, Temple beat both Pitt and West Virginia. Beating Penn State is the third edge of the triangle. As you know, George, and as everyone knows, Penn State beat a highly ranked Maryland team last week. Is there a chance of a letdown for Penn State?
I doubt very much so, Stan. Good teams usually don't have letdowns this early in the season. And Penn State better not have a letdown, because over the last 10 years, Temple has played them as tough as any team on their schedule.
Temple comes into the game 0-1. Penn State is 1-0. And we'll be back to take a look at some of the key players in today's game in just a moment. Yet another sellout crowd at Beaver Stadium, a crowd of over 84,000 on hand for today's game between Penn State and Temple. As you know, last week, Penn State was able to defeat Maryland 20-18. Maryland certainly had the better of it statistically, George, but Penn State made more of the big plays.
All right, Stan. Young John Schaefer, starting his first big ball game, hit 12 out of 25 completions for 167 yards and 1 touchdown. Here he hits Ray Roundtree on a sideline pattern between the corner and the rolled-up safety for a nice gain.
Roundtree, of course, a converted quarterback. He was a quarterback in high school, has adjusted well with position. And the other guy on the other side, Michael Timpson, the freshman, made quite an impact.
One of the most sought-after high school athletes in the country. Runs about 4.3-something 40. Here you see Schaefer hitting on a 55-yard long pass down the sideline. Sheer speed, setting up one of Penn State's scores. He's going to really help this offense.
Showed a lot of poise, obviously, for a freshman as well. If you're an old lineman, you like the lineman. And this guy, who has played both offense and defense, Todd Moles, could key the running game.
Absolutely. The switch from Moles from defense back to offense should help DJ Dozier this year.
All right, let's take a look at the key players for the Temple Owls. A loss last week, Harry, to Boston College, but some big plays for Temple.
Big plays led by Lee Saltz, the quarterback. Of course, Lee is the option quarterback. He completed 14 last week and good for 204 yards. Here he is 2 years ago against Penn State. Came in when an injury to Tim Reardon sent Reardon to the sidelines, and he threw for touchdowns twice. Almost got Temple back into that football game.
Now, one of the key people is wide receiver Willie Marshall. I know he dropped the key one last week, but he is the deep threat.
He is a big play receiver, too. 84 Willie Marshall last week. Opening moments of the football game, dropped a big one against Boston College. A lot of people think if he had held on, got the touchdown, maybe the Owls would have held on for the victory.
Could have been up 14-0. Now, one of the guys that Joe Paterno is really concerned about is running back Paul Palmer. Great quickness.
Number 6, he can do everything. He can run with the football. He's a good pass receiver, and he is a threat anytime he has the ball in his hands.
Well, it's legitimate to show offensive linemen. Actually, we do that because we're totally afraid of them. But John Rienstra, who is an All-American offensive guard, a legitimate All-American candidate.
They call him the Rhino. Last week he went up against Mike Ruth and held his own. And this guy is going to be maybe a low first-round, maybe high second-round pick in the NFL draft. He is an excellent offensive lineman.
We'll keep an eye on him, and so will Penn State defensive end Bob White. He is one of the defensive linemen that's going to have to be bothered by John Rienstra. And looking at the Penn State defense against that Temple offensive line, once again, the Penn State defensive line is smaller than the Temple offensive line.
Well, that's the trend nowadays, Stan. The defensive people are small. The offensive linemen are bigger so they can throw the ball, and everybody's doing it. But Bob White's outstanding. He's 6'4", 245, and he's the key to Penn State's defense because sometimes he lines up as a defensive tackle, and sometimes he lines up as a defensive end. They move him around, and he's very good at rushing the passer and has a few sacks. A lot like Lawrence Taylor of the New York Giants.
Now, the Temple Owls play a 4-3 defense with a rover back. And as in all key 4-3 defenses, the linebackers are the key.
Bob Pilkowskis here is a veteran linebacker. Not big in terms of size from some other linebackers you might see around the country playing top Division I football. But he's always around the football on defense. This play right here last year in an indoor game at Convention Hall, picked off the ball and ran it in for a touchdown down there in Atlantic City against Toledo, and the Owls' big win at the end of the season to give them a winning record.
So they still count 6 even indoors, obviously.
Yeah, indoors, outdoors, he'll take it anywhere.
All right, so those are a look at some of the key players in today's football game. Big play players all. We're going to find out what the coaches think about today's game. We'll have a conversation with both Bruce Arians and Joe Paterno in just a moment.
One mountain men of old, your home team, Old Steelers, proud to be part of Penn State.
Ned Hart accounted for all of Penn State's scoring in the game at North Carolina State. He kicked field goals of 39 and 37 yards. But a Wolfpack touchdown with 1:18 to play gives North Carolina State the lead. Now Penn State is roaring back, but there's time for only one more play.
This will be a 54-yard attempt by Menhart out of a hold by Gooman. 1 second left. It is good. He did it.
Great players, great plays.
This game is being brought to you by Daly's Juice Products. We'll remind you there's a Daly's treat for everyone, and by Giant Eagle. Only at Giant Eagle do you get absolute minimum prices. Low prices on every item every day. So what you get is the lowest total food bill every time you shop. And by Busch Beer, the beer with a taste as smooth as its name. And by Meyer Siegel and Associates, fine family of foods. Lamagna cheese, the regatta for all reasons. And Rocca's Gourmet Pasta. Homemade pasta has never been so easy. Back at Beaver Stadium in University Park, Pennsylvania, getting ready for the kickoff between Penn State and Temple. The two coaches today come from opposite ends. Joe Paterno, his 20th year as head coach. Bruce Arians trying to rebuild the Temple program in his 3rd year. Penn State a winner last week, Temple lost. And Arians, although he feels his program is on track, was most disappointed when Temple lost to Boston College a week ago.
I was very disappointed in the way we played. I thought we had an excellent first quarter, an excellent fourth quarter. But in between, we had too many mental errors to beat anybody, and we're capable of much better.
I think anytime you have a win, you have to be careful you don't go flat, and obviously, particularly against a team such as Maryland, which was ranked so high. But I think that we've had one thing we've tried to get across to our squad right from the beginning. We were going to get better every single day. We were going to improve in practice. We weren't going to waste time, and that's been the theme all week. And the kids have worked hard in practice. They realize they're not good enough right now for. They're not as good as they can be, and as a result, I think we're going to play well against Temple.
I think we can get back to 1-1, and we can go to where we think we can be with this program. And the program and the football team are really two different entities, but this football team's got a chance to be something special, and a victory tomorrow will put us back to 1-1 with Brigham Young coming home next week, and we're going to be in great shape.
In your third year, are you pleased with the overall progress of the program?
I thought we were right on schedule, one game off. Last year at 6-5 was where we wanted to be. We had to have a victory over some teams that we hadn't beaten in a while, and we did that with Pitt and West Virginia. And now this year it's time to go ahead and put more notches in the belt and get up around the 8-game level.
I think everybody in the East is really working very hard to have good programs. They're building better facilities. The recruiting is more intense and the whole bit. So I think Temple and Rutgers and everybody right now are just on the verge where anybody can beat anybody. So I think that makes for good Eastern football every week, and I think that's excellent.
How far away do you feel your program is?
About 24 hours.
We'll be back in just a moment. Right on your television screen, and the sky's mostly sunny. What a day for college football. Captains set to meet in the middle of the field. Again, we'll reintroduce ourselves. I'm Stan Savran, along with George Paterno and Harry Donahue. Harry, I thought it was most interesting that Bruce Arians would say when I asked him about Temple's performance last week against Boston College, he said he was very disappointed, even though they played a very good game. I guess that Arians, now in his third year at Temple in the rebuilding process, playing well, but losing is no longer good enough.
That's right, Stan, because last year, Temple's record was 6-5, and they came within just a couple plays of being 8-3. And the kind of mistakes that they made last year cost them a couple ball games. It cost them a ball game last week against Boston College. He feels that these guys have the experience and the talent that they don't have to make mistakes like that.
All right, let's go down to the center of the field and listen to the toss of the coin.
The tail. You have won the toss, you may have a reception. You want the second half option? All right, gentlemen, you have the choice of kicking or receiving. You'll receive. Which goal do you want to defend? You'll kick that way. Just turn around and face the way you're going, gentlemen. The Lions have won the toss.
All right, Penn State wins the toss. They elect to choose the option. That is Todd Bowles. He obviously will not play today with an injury. Here
is Anthony Young last year, now with Indianapolis in the NFL. Kevin Ross 2 years ago, now with Kansas City, starting with the Chiefs out there. A lot was expected of Todd Bowles. He came up with this injury in August during the preseason workouts. It's actually a dislocated bone in his wrist, and he's a heck of a player. The guy they have in there, Frank Bongivengo, was actually a transfer to Temple, and Frank said last week he expected to see a lot of people coming at him, and he just got that, and the same thing probably.
And especially when you have a strong defensive squad going against a team that's playing on your field, I think it's a good choice.
All right, Massimo Manca will be kicking off for Penn State. Back deep for Temple. Todd McNair is the middleman, and he is averaging 20 yards per kickoff return. Willie Marshall, one of the wide receivers, also back there. He's got tremendous speed. So Penn State, with a slight wind at their back, will be kicking. Paul Palmer, the third man, back on the goal line. Kick is high. McNair takes at the 2. Slight hole across the 20 and out near the 20 to help from Kurt Bernier. Temple offense, Lee Salt's the quarterback. Paul Palmer, the tailback. Shelley Poole, great blocker, the fullback. The wideouts, Willie Marshall and Keith Gloucester. The tight end is Pete. First down, 10. Tight end Marshall motion to the Johnson far side. Play fake, Salt sideline, and it is complete and dropped. And out of bounds. Now he had control out to the 31-yard line, very near first down. Willie Marshall deep threat for Temple. That's his 5th reception of the year for Penn State defensively. Bob White. Mike Russo will not start today. We found out just before the game. Tim Johnson and Don Graham. Trey Bauer, Rogers Alexander, Shane Conlon are the linebackers. In the secondary, Duffy Cobbs, Lance Hamilton the corners, Ray Isom the safety, and Michael Zordich is the hero. Atoa Polamalu is the nose guard, number 99. Mike Russo has a knee that he injured in Temple or against Maryland last week. Here's the give to Palmer on the dive out to the 33-yard line. That'll be good for the Temple
rushing. He's a triple threat. Once in a while, they like to give him the option to throw the football, and he is very effective at getting it downfield that way as well, Stan.
You saw the stats for Lee Saltz last week against Boston College, 14 out of 32. 1st and 10. Johnson, short motion. Saltz, there's a rush on. He beats the rush, throws to the sideline, incomplete, overthrown, double coverage. Ray Isom and Lance Hamilton offered the coverage on the play.
A big tight end, Johnson, in a slot, and they're using him in motion. Now, when you bring your tight end in a slot like that, it kind of indicates that the coach is coming out here to throw the ball, and I think that that's what Coach Arians is trying to do right now, establish his passing game to some degree.
What will it do to the defense, George, with tight end in motion?
Well, Penn State will either, if they've got a man-to-man coverage on, or they'll just switch zones on.
Eye backfield. Palmer, the deep man in the eye. 2nd down and 10. 43 losses, 2 ties. 2nd and 15. Temple their own 28 after an initial 1st down. Palmer. Big hole. And he's got blockers to the 45 and run out of bounds at the 47-yard line. Ray Isom, the safety, ran him out of bounds, but Palmer picking up 19 yards and 2nd 1st down for Temple. 2nd down, 1st down and 10. And this time Palmer gets a couple after the 40.
Had a picture-perfect opening drive to get on the board early. Then Willie Marshall dropped the football. It would probably have been a touchdown on the 2nd drive, and it really took Temple out of the game.
Saltz on the straight drop. Here's the flat pass off to Palmer. Needs a blocker and gets one to the 45, to the 40. In the open field and finally brought down to the Penn State. Palmer on the straight handoff. Good running room. Zordich, a senior from Youngstown, Ohio, intercepted that pass last week and ran it back 32 yards for a touchdown. He looks to be okay. That's just shaken up a little bit. Fellas, it looks to me that Temple certainly hasn't done anything to surprise Penn State. Just good, tough football, and they're controlling. Michael Zordich, 3rd down and 2. The fullback pool, he does not get there. Will be Jim Cooper. He's 1 for 1 on the season, and this one will be a 47-yard field goal angled to the left. Kick is up. It's against the wind. It is long enough, and it is good. Jim Cooper with a 47-yard field goal. Temple completes the drive. 11:23 to play in the 1st quarter. We've got a timeout. The score, Temple 3, Penn State nothing. We'll be back. Jim Coates on the near side. Coates averaging 19 per return. Thomas 24 per return. Thomas takes at the 8. Drives his way across the 20 and out near the 20. There's the starting offense for Penn State. Same outfit that started last week. Sickler, Farrat, Smith, Moles, and Conlon are the starting offensive linemen. Steve Smith at fullback. DJ Dozier, the deep man on the eye, at tailback. Schaefer, short drop, slant pattern. Roundtree, he's out to the 40-yard line. 16-yard gain, 1st and 10. This is Michael Timpson, the freshman, in motion near side. Dozier. Get in the backfield. He's going to be dropped from Davis, Kumro, and Jeff Ward, the front 4. Smith, Pilkowskis, and Dominowski are the linebackers. The rover back is Frank Bonjavengo, whom Harry mentioned. Bruton, Herder, and Parker are the 3 deep. 2nd and 14. Schaefer on the roll. Throwing sideline. Almost intercepted and batted out of bounds. Eric Hamilton, he hit 48% of his passes last week. 1 out of 2 on the day. They break the wing left as Dozier comes in motion on 3rd and 14. Schaefer over the middle. But Dozier makes some moves, but too many white shirts at the 44-yard
for the 1st down.
Bruno, who averaged better than 46 yards per kick last week, to the 18-yard line, and not much room. Penn State good on the coverage team. A 7-yard punt by Kip Schoenefeld. Penn State in the eye with, or rather the split backs with Manoa and Dozier. Schaefer out the flat and caught by Dozier. 30. Look out. Saving tackle by Parker on the sideline. Finally knocked Dozier out of bounds. at the 44-yard line. A gain of 20. Roundtree, because he threw the block on the sideline and was able to spring Dozier. And wide-out coaches love their receivers to block downfield. It's a part of the game that is oftentimes forgotten. Manoa. Power. David Clark in at tailback out of the eye this time. This is David Clark. Manoa leads. And Clark has the first down for Penn State at the Temple 40.
Good school over there. I think they had 12 players on their football team. Everybody saw a lot of action.
Well, you know, I saw him making up the charts and whatnot that he was from Brussels, and I said, boy, that Arians is really going on a wide-range recruiting scheme, but kind of figured his father was in the military. First down and 10. Blitz. Schaefer in trouble. On the roll, he throws it away. Field have Michael Timpson open. Steve Dominowski, inside linebacker, junior from Mayfield, Pennsylvania, came in to force Schaefer on the roll. And Dozier back in the ball game. Draw play, Dozier. Hit at the line of scrimmage, stays on his feet to go for Penn State. Third down conversions, they are 0 for 1. 6.5 to play. First quarter, Temple leading 3-0. All-out blitz, flat pattern. It is caught. Eric Hamilton, first down. He fumbles, but Penn State recovers at the 28-yard line. That would have been called a fumble. Dean DeMidio, the man who fell on the fumble by Eric Hamilton after the pass completion from the man who forced the fumble, but DeMidio was there. So it's a first down. Dozier almost fumbles the pitch. Makes a nice cut inside the left and out of the eye. Fake to Dozier. Schaefer, little dump pass. Manoa, the 15, the 10, the 5, and down to the 3-yard line. Bootleg. Tim Manoa sneaking out of the backfield after the fake to Dozier. Finally brought down by Eddie Parker for a first down and goal.
We'll try to set you up. Some of the teams that do real well, teams like Iowa and Nebraska and some of the great coaches.
Now we do have a timeout, and I believe it'll be Schaefer now. 5 out of 7, 91 yards.
Right or outside? What do you think, George?
I always like to go off tackle when I'm near the goal line because you can either go there or bounce it outside. Let's see.
Tim Manoa falls forward to near the 1-yard line as they go with the triple.
They average about 240 on the defensive line for the Owls, so they're a little bit undermanned.
Smith in motion the other way. This is Manoa. He's in the end zone. Touchdown, Penn State. Had blockers in front and really didn't need them. Tim Manoa on the 2-yard touchdown run, and Penn State.
It's significant here. He gets good blocking. Dozier throws a block. Is that Penn State's offensive line is dominating a smaller Temple defensive line at this moment. Things can change.
Field block. Massimo Manca, 2 for 2 on extra points. Matt Kisner, the holder. Kick is up, and the kick is good. 4:57 to play in the first quarter. Penn State takes the lead at 7-3, and we received information that Bruce Arians, when he was talking with the official fellows, was questioning Penn State's formation. He is arguing that Penn State, in certain formations, does not have 7 men on the line of scrimmage.
This is not lining up on the ball. You know, that's probably the only way they can do it. Or if they got several flankers, one of them is, you know, not lining up properly. I have not noticed that from up here.
That's something I guess the coaches upstairs are calling down on the headsets to Bruce about. And the
tight end, you know, lines up a little too deep, and he really is in the backfield. And
don't the officials sometimes, George, tell them to, you know, move up if you're going to get up there?
Normally, the official will warn a penalty in the first time.
Here you see the drive.
Good on the fly, and Saltz was right on the money.
Well, we know he can throw the ball. It was a beautifully thrown ball. I was just about to say Penn State has not blitzed yet, and it looks like they're giving the quarterback a little too much time. Had all the time in the world. Beautifully thrown ball. Lost to beat his man. Touchdown.
You know, you couldn't get in there.
Marshall.
Was it Marshall?
Willie Marshall.
Marshall.
That is his first touchdown catch of the year. The second touchdown throw for Saltz. Look at that throw. You can't beat that.
And I believe Penn State was in zone coverage, and when you get beat in zone coverage deep, that's a no-no.
Cobbs and Isom on the coverage, but the pass is perfectly thrown. And the extra point by Cooper is good. And Temple regains the lead, a 50-yard touchdown pass. Let's make that right with the extra point. 50-yard touchdown pass from Lee Saltz to Willie Marshall, and that completes a 79-yard drive.
That was the exact play that they had last week on the second offensive drive that Marshall dropped. Only this time there was better coverage. He was 10 yards in the open against Boston College. I'm sure after looking at the films, the Penn State secondary was looking for it. They know he's a deep threat. The ball was perfectly thrown, and he beat the two guys back there on the
But I think, as you said before, Salk's play fake so well, he might have held the cornerback just a fraction of an inch to allow Marshall to get deep on him. But these are the things that, you know, a coach does not like to see when you're in zone defense to get beat. The defender's responsibility is just to never let anybody get behind him.
Schaefer to the sideline. Schaefer slant pass. Great catch to the 40 and out to the 42-yard line. The slant pattern working to the other side that time, and Eric Hamilton made the catch for a Penn State first down. Hamilton's first catch of the season.
Schaefer does something. See him look to the right, then come back to the left. They had to rove it to the strong side of the field. That's just a quick slant in on the weak side, single coverage, but a great adjustment on a ball.
16-yard gain and a Penn State first down. That's Dozier in motion to the far side. Schaefer looking deep, got a man open, but over
to the weak side relative to the field position.
What a thinking man's position that is.
Watch out here, a slot to the right. Dozier gets the hole. In the open field, the 50, the 40. Needs one block. He's down to the Temple 32-yard line. Dozier in the open field, brought down from behind by the defensive end Chris Eady, but it's a big gain for Penn State of 26 yards and a first. We'll get it corrected as soon as we possibly can. Play fake to Clark. Schaefer looking man wide open, and is caught by Dominio at the 10, and he's finally run out of bounds inside the 5-yard line at the 4-yard. Eventually made the tackle.
This is the best we've seen Penn State's offense. Look, a little play fake to Clark, tight end across the grain, against the flow. He hits Dominio, takes it down to the 3.
Two linebackers got caught out of position that time as Dominio coming, as you mentioned, George, across the flow. They were headed the other way, saw him, and it was just too late reacting.
Dominio has 2 catches on the year. Last week he caught one for 33 yards. That one good for 21. Schaefer on the roll, wants to run himself and barely gets back 130 yards. Less than 30 seconds to play in the first quarter. Dozier. Touchdown, DJ Dozier. Dozier took some tough hits, takes it in for the 4-yard touchdown run, and Penn State goes back in the lead.
Steve Smith, I think, helps make this play. There he goes in motion.
Remember, now that's Manola, 44, and Smith. They had the 2 fullbacks in, Harry, and people forget that DJ Dozier, with all his speed and agility, he's a 215-pound running back, and he's also strong. Here will show how strong he can be. Follows Manola. Smith was in motion, the other fullback from the wing position. He takes it in for the score.
And a good block by Tim Manoa as Massimo Menka is on to attempt the extra point. 22 seconds to play in the quarter. Kick by Menka is good. And so the teams trade touchdowns. Penn State back in the lead at 40. Can't be more better balanced swivel hip guys. You can get cross-eyed doing that. Wing right with Dozier as Hamilton comes in. He's got big running run inside the 20 down to the 15-yard line. State first down. Penn State now with 13 first downs.
Well, George, you hit it right on the head. Look at the way the Penn State line here is just manhandling. Look at that hole. I could run through that.
That was just a draw play with a little influence on it, but you're seeing 2 fine offensive lines.
6.5 yards per carry. They got 31 yards on 3 carries today. Schaefer blitz, beats the blitz, and it is intercepted at the 2-yard line.
Well, they're not out of the soup yet.
They're at their own 2-yard line. Don Giannetti playing nose tackle now for Penn State. Handoff inside. There gets a couple out
up against the wall like that, just to go straight ahead and blow them.
2nd down and 8. Shelley Poole, the fullback. Flag down. Screen pass, batted out of the end zone. They've not having 7 guys there. They got caught with it. Gloucester comes into the ball game. Temple 1 for 4 on 3rd down conversions. That was that big pass to Gloucester on the previous series. Saltz, a lot of time, throwing, man open, and it is incomplete. But Gloucester just couldn't hang on, gave it the great effort, and now Shenna.
3 years ago was the 3rd best punter in Division I football in the NCAA. Last year, a little bit of an off season. He's showing now what he did.
Play in the half. Penn State still leads at 14-10. We'll be back. David Clark, who's a senior from Deptford, New Jersey, 6 feet tall and about 210 pounds. Second down, 7. Clock running, 8:25 to play in the first half.
Deptford's about 10 miles from Temple's campus, too.
Here comes Minot on the same play, and he's got big here, George, figuring you got 4th down to fool with it.
No, not the way they're running the ball. Their offensive line has control of the line of scrimmage.
Quarterback sneak, and Schaefer's got the first down right at the 20. Counterplay to Dozier. Makes a great cut and gets inside the 20 and down to the 2nd down and 3. Blitz. Schaefer in trouble. He's
Play the Temple's made in the ball game so far.
Roundtree split left, Eric Hamilton right, and now Hamilton comes in motion to the near side. Schaefer throwing, but it is incomplete to the left, and again kicking into an 8-10 mile per hour wind. Kicks up long enough, and the kick is good. So Massimo Manca remains perfect on field goals. He extends Penn State's lead. 5:57 to play in the half. Penn State 17 and Temple 10. We'll be back right after this.